Megumi Fushiguro and Yuji Itadori, two people who have always had each other's backs from the start, other than until now, when Sukuna forcefully transferred over to taking over Megumi's body. However, I don't believe that's going to be for long. I believe Yuji is going to save Megumi, and more importantly, I believe Yuji has a genius plan to make sure that Megumi is going to be saved that he's come up with the others. And that is what this video was made to prove. However, before we get into this video of both proving why I think Yuji is going to do it and why I think he's set up to do it, and most of all, what his plan actually is, be sure to subscribe if you like anime content like this. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now, I've recently been doing a lot of rereads on Jujutsu Kaisen and a lot of the old things established, and that is what allowed me to come to what I believe is the true plan that Yuji has. Because a lot of things and a lot of plot points have been built up in the early parts of Jujutsu Kaisen that we just didn't pay attention to until now. However, now I'm just going to stop beating around the bush and actually get into what I think Yuji's plan is. What I think the group's plan is for them to weaken Sukuna in the fight, if not just outright killing Megumi, knowing that they won't actually kill either of them thanks to what has been established earlier on in the series, and then for Yuji to use his new soul ability to hop into Sukuna's soul and try suppressing Sukuna's soul while waking up Megumi. Now, there is a lot I'm going to have to go over with this entire thing. For example, how is Yuji able to suppress his soul? How is Yuji able to go into Sukuna's soul? Why is Yuji even able to do this? And all of that jazz. So I'm going to go over each of these and why I'm so confident about this entire plan. So up first, I think the thing I need to prove the most is the fact that Yuji is capable of suppressing souls, or at least that's what he was training to do. And let me just get into this now of why I think Yuji is at least training to try and learn how to suppress a soul. Now, I did a reread on the entire battle in chapter 222 between Yuji and Kusakabe, and while we were all focused on the line of Kusakabe saying, "You need to get a grip on this Yuji in Yuji's body," or at least that's how most people interpreted it. Most people weren't actually focused on why Kusakabe was even saying that. And now I think I actually know what the reason was for why he was even saying that. And it wasn't because Yuji accidentally swapped souls with him. No, I think what Yuji is trying to learn how to do is how to keep two souls in one body and suppress the other soul. And it's something that we outright know is possible. Sukuna is literally doing it after all. And not just is Sukuna literally doing it, we find out that it is a possible skill for someone to learn. You don't have to be born with a curse technique to do it like Kenjaku. You are able to actually learn this skill because it's learning how to turn yourself into a cursed object, which Kenjaku directly taught to Sukuna. And that is what I believe Yuji is trying to force learn on himself. After all, if there was anyone, and I mean anyone at all, who would learn that ability, it would be Yuji, purely because of the fact Yuji knows how Sukuna functions absolutely better than anyone, because Yuji gets all of the memories of what Sukuna does in between every transformation. Yuji knows the power of resisting a soul. Yuji knows how to suppress a soul because he would have directly experienced it through Sukuna. We see that it is possible to suppress souls when you have enough power going into said soul. For example, 15 fingers worth of Sukuna's cursed energy in Shibuya was enough to suppress Yuji's soul for a short period of time, until Yuji was able to take back control and fight against it. What I think Yuji is trying to learn right now is mimic how Sukuna was able to even do that, and mimic forcing Sukuna's soul down so he can have a conversation with Megumi. He's not going to be as good as Sukuna is at it, and he's not going to be able to hold Sukuna down, purely because Sukuna's soul is going to be a lot stronger, but I think this is going to lead into step 2 of their plan, which is actually fighting Sukuna inside of the innate domain. But before I get into step 2 of that plan, I do want to talk more about the fact that I think Yuji has certainly been set up to be able to suppress Sukuna's soul. I do want to talk more about the fact that Yuji has been set up from the beginning to be able to suppress Sukuna's soul even without his body, and now I'm going to get into the reasons of why his understanding of the soul has been set up to be at such a level where he's even capable of doing that. One massive piece of evidence, in my opinion, is the fact of why Sukuna even waited so long to take Megumi's soul, because this is something very interesting that a lot of people kind of ignored. Kind of just took as a nothing statement purely because, well, we already knew it, but it's much more interesting once you read back on it. Which is when Sukuna was talking about the day he sensed Megumi and the day he knew he wanted Megumi. And in that moment, he said it'd be a problem if he turned out to be a cage just like the brat. The brat being in reference to Yuji, which is why he waited until the moment that Megumi Fushiguro's soul shattered, which is an amazing confirmation that the soul and the body are one. Something that was confirmed just a while back in the Mahito arc, when Mahito said that to Junpei, that the soul and the body are the same, and however the soul will be shaped, the body will follow after. Yuji has an incredibly strong soul, a soul so capable that it's even capable of suppressing Sukuna. As a result of that, if Yuji were to enter into Sukuna's soul and enter into Megumi's soul, he should be capable of doing quite a bit of damage in suppressing Sukuna's soul, especially if it's a damaged Sukuna like I think it's going to be. Now, it should be noted, he's not going to be able to automatically even suppress Sukuna's soul, mainly because of the fact that it is 20 fingers worth of Sukuna's soul-based energy. Even in an injured state, I don't think Yuji is capable of suppressing Sukuna's soul fully. However, it should also be noted this battle would be a lot more even than a lot of people give it credit for, due to the actual insane amount of strength that is Yuji's soul, considering the fact Yuji is capable of suppressing 20 fingers of Sukuna, so long as those fingers were fed to him each individually on a different day, which is already an incredibly insane amount of feats for Yuji's soul being much more powerful than his cursed energy and body, which makes a lot of sense considering Yuji has always been set up to have an incredibly powerful soul. Furthermore, there's also something else really interesting, which is the fact that Megumi's soul can detect the difference between attacking people and attacking Yuji back when Sukuna was in control. This is something that people only really looked at for power scaling sense, but now that I'm rereading it, it's actually kind of like really huge. The fact that in the Sukuna battle, Megumi was able to suppress Sukuna's cursed energy, but only when he was attacking either Yuji or Maki. He wasn't able to suppress it when he was attacking the ground, which is how Sukuna managed to work around them. Which is something I find incredibly interesting, that even on a subconscious level, Megumi's soul is able to detect the difference between attacking a friend and attacking a foe, and like attacking the ground, or even on a conscious level. And I think that's going to come into play again in this fight. I don't think they introduced that for no reason whatsoever. I think the only reason that they actually introduced the fact that Megumi can suppress the soul intentionally with specific hits towards people was to make this even more build-up of why Megumi can't suppress Sukuna after Yuji might give him a speech or something to help him get out of the state of depression that he is in. And some of you guys might also be wondering, how can Yuji fight Sukuna in a soul plane? Sure, he might be able to suppress his soul, but how can that even happen? Well, we know it's possible to fight Sukuna and talk to Sukuna in a soul plane, because Mahito literally does it through idol transfiguration. He talks to Sukuna. We literally have seen Mahito do it time and time again, and Sukuna's soul is the very reason that Mahito can't use idol transfiguration on Yuji. What I think Yuji is doing is remembering back to all the times of direct interactions with Sukuna's soul, and he's going to take the lessons he's gotten from the soul book that Yuki left behind, as well as everything Mahito did and all the talk of the soul, to try and directly access Megumi's soul in order to suppress Sukuna and try and get Megumi back. Whether this actually ends up killing Sukuna and being his finale of Yuji and Megumi taking him out together, or Sukuna ends up getting free and going back to his original body, I am not entirely sure yet. Though I think there's one more thing I need to talk about, which is why I am so incredibly confident that Yuji is going to end up saving Megumi, and why I think it's been foreshadowed and built up that Yuji is going to be the one to save Megumi. Though I think there's one more thing I need to talk about, which is why I am so incredibly confident that Yuji is going to end up saving Megumi, and why I think it's been foreshadowed and built up that Yuji is going to be the one to save Megumi. The reason why I'm so confident that Yuji is going to be the one to save Megumi is because of something that was said all the way back in Chapter 1. Back when Yuji's grandfather first died, and that is the main reason I'm so confident he's going to save him. It's because of the line that Yuji's grandpa said to him right before he died. "You're a strong kid, so help people. It doesn't have to be all the time, just whenever you can. You may feel lost, don't accept gratitude. Just help them. When it's your time to go, make sure you're surrounded by others. Don't end up like me." As well as a line we get in the future of Megumi asking Yuji to save him. All these lines together just make me really confident that Yuji is going to be the one to save Megumi in the future, especially this promise. Because while Yuji hasn't been able to save everyone, for example, Nobara, Nanami, etc., all those people, I do think he's going to be able to save Megumi. I think he's going to be able to change that final fate for himself. Now, whether do I think this plan is actually going to work or not, and I don't think it's going to be exactly going according to plan. I think Kashimo is going to hop in soon right after. As a note, I recorded this before the leaks came out for the chapter, so the leaks might entirely prove this wrong. I doubt it, but the leaks might entirely prove this wrong. At the time of recording this, we're at chapter 229. Kashimo might happen to the fight, Sukuna might get jumped, etc., all of that good jazz. However, I am confident ultimately Yuji is going to be the one mainly responsible for saving Megumi up to this point due to how much Yuji and Megumi have been with each other, which I am going to make an entire video going over Megumi and Yuji's bond up to this point. Just know Yuji's finally going to get his